Okay, children, now we are with the third video. So here we are going to discuss the ubiquitous nature of microorganisms. In my second video, at the last part of the second video, we little bit discussed what is the meaning of that ubiquitous nature. Ubiquitous nature means something like this, that ubiquitous nature means we concern how nicely they spreaded and how big a game is played by the particular organism. So when I consider the ubiquitous nature of microorganisms, so we can pay attention to these things. So what are the things that microorganisms can be seen in the water? I mean, the habitats. When I concern the habitats of the microorganisms, right? When I concern the habitats of the microorganisms, we want to show that microorganisms can be seen in almost all the habitats. That's what we want to show in the case of ubiquitous nature of microorganisms. So when I concern the habitats of the microorganisms, they can be live in water. So we can mainly see two types of water. One is marine water and the other one is fresh water. So you know microorganisms can live in the marine water and fresh water both. So when we concern that aquatic habitats and the microorganisms plays a big role in the aquatic habitats because the algae and diatoms, especially the cyanobacteria, like those kind of organisms, I mean microorganisms, they basically act as a primary producer in that aquatic ecosystem. So the microorganisms plays a big role in that aquatic habitats because they are the basic or most important primary producer in the aquatic habitats. Right. So when I consider the habitats, microorganisms live in the soil, right? So you know the microorganisms can live in the soil. The soil microorganisms are very important because they are important to recycle the material. So you know without recycling, no living things can be pre-existent. I mean their sustainability is in a doubt if there is no recycling. If the materials are not recycling, then we have the problem with the sustainability of the thing. So the microorganisms in the soil are important for the sustainability, I mean the recycling the things. And the microorganisms can live in the air. They are known as bioaerosols, right? They are known as bioaerosols. So now it's very important. Now, in this resource book that they talk about the bioaerosols, but they don't give the proper definition for the bioaerosols. So so I will introduce you the bioaerosol something like this way, the bioaerosol. So what are the bioaerosols are? The bioaerosols are biological. Bioaerosol may be biological or abiotic, right? It may be biological or abiotic. Biological or abiotic component. Biological or abiotic component, right? Biological or abiotic component suspended in air. Suspended in air, right? Now, these are the bioaerosols. So, what is bioaerosol? Is biological or abiotic component suspended in the air. It may be biological or it may be abiotic. Sometimes we concern the pollen grains of the flowers. It can be act as a bioaerosol. So, what I want to say in that ubiquitous nature, the microorganisms has invaded the atmosphere. The microorganisms has invaded the atmosphere. That's what the most important thing that we want to show in the ubiquitous nature. They play a big role there in the atmosphere. Right. I got the next one. That is, they can be living in organism. Right. They can be living organisms in organisms exterior or interior. Right. Exterior or interior, right? They can be living in organism exterior or interior. So then that is another very important thing in the case of microorganisms. They can be live in water, live in soil, live in air, organisms inside the organisms or the outside the organisms. So the definition of the bioaerosol I will erase because I want to take some more space. The next one is, now when I concern this ubiquitous nature, most of the microorganisms that we can see are not vulnerable. That means they are not making the diseases, not disadvantaged. Most of the microorganisms are either beneficial or they are not harming. Only few of the microorganisms are making the damages to us, or some only few of them are vulnerable or virulent. Right? Or pathogenic. Almost all the microorganisms are not pathogenic. Only few of them are pathogenic. Only few of them are pathogenic. But this is very important in the case of virus. Viruses must be there inside the host, maybe plant, maybe animal. So viruses are always pathogenic, right? If the virus is there in the plant, it is pathogenic for that plant. If the virus is there in the animal, it is pathogenic for that animal. Right. So the next thing is that instead of these main habitats, so these microorganisms can live in the very unfavorable conditions. Now they are called extremophiles, that extreme climatic conditions, like microorganisms, how ubiquitous that is, microorganisms can be there in very cool climate like glaciers. Microorganisms can be there in hot water wells. Microorganisms can be there in very cool places like the bottom of the sea. Microorganisms can be there in the highly alkaline medium or highly acidic medium. So in very high, very big pressure like seabed, right? So like that, they are called extremophiles. They are known as extremophiles. So they are called what? Extremophiles. So what are these extremophiles? So we need to have the clear understanding who are the extremophiles are. Extremophiles are, so these extremophiles are a group of microorganisms. They have the ability of living in very, very unfavorable conditions. That might be, that means very harder environmental conditions that might be unfavorable or lethal for the other organisms, like highly acidic solution. So other organisms are unfavor on them, but some of the microorganisms are favor on them. For the hot water wells, for the other organisms, other microorganisms, that place will be lethal, means cause for the death. But thermophiles, they are type of extremophiles. Thermophiles, that will be favorable place. So we have to have the definition for the extremophile. This is the way we define the extremophiles, children. This is the way we define the extremophiles. They are microorganisms. They are microorganisms. They are microorganisms who capable to inhibit in extreme environmental condition, who capable to inhibit, to we say the live in extreme environment, they can live in extreme environment, right? They can live in extreme environmental conditions. They can live in extreme environmental conditions that is unfavorable or lethal for other organisms. That is unfavorable or lethal for other, right? So they are the extremophiles. So when we concern the extremophiles, who are the extremophiles are microorganisms who can live in extreme climatic conditions, which is unfavorable or lethal for the other organisms. So when I concern these extremophiles, there are different types of extremophiles, right? Right. The extremophiles are classified. Extremophiles are classified depending on the environmental condition that they live. Extremophiles are classified depending on the environmental conditions that they live. Now, for an example, if they are living in a very hot water, they are called thermophiles. If they are living in a very high pressure, they are called barophiles. If they are living in uh, acidic, highly acidic pH, they are called acidophiles, right? If they are living in highly salt water, they are called halophiles. So like that, the extremophiles are classified like this way. The extremophiles are classified like this way. Say there are type of extremophiles, thermophiles. Thermophiles live in hot water. Thermophiles, right? And there's another one called halophiles. Halophiles, halophiles live in salt water. Live in salt water. Then some are known as acidophiles. Live in low pH values. They live in low pH values, right? And some are known as alkaliphiles. Alkaliphiles, they live in high pH. That means in acidic medium. They live in acidic medium, right? Some are known as barophiles. Barophiles. Barophiles means live in high pressure. Live in high pressure. The barophiles live in high pressure, right? This is very important. May not be there in the resource, but you better know this one. Oligotropes. There are osmophiles. There are osmophiles. Osmophiles means live in high sugar concentrations. High sugar concentration. They live in high sugar concentration. So like that, we have different types of extremophiles. Extremophiles. So they are extremophiles. So I said that the ubiquitous nature of the microorganisms means that we want to show that they are living in very, very diverse environment and they play the big role in each and every ecosystem. So you see that they live and they invaded almost all the type of organism, almost all the type of ecosystems in the world. So that is what about the ubiquitous nature of the microorganisms. Now sometimes the microorganisms can live in a place where more than one condition, one extreme condition. For an example, seabed, very high pressure, very high salt, and very, very cold. So they are barophiles and halophiles, and they are barophiles and halophiles, and then they are very cool at some kind of thermophiles. Understand that? So sometimes microorganisms can be extremophiles can be live in place where more than one harder conditions are available, like seabed or hot water well. Most of the hot water wells are either alkaline or acidic. So there are two harder conditions there. So we finish this video, meet with another video.